Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 19th at 9 a.m., and this is a regular Board of Directors meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the
to the
flag
flag of the
of the United
United
States of
States of
America
America
and
and
to the
to
republic
the republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
You are me.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is the agenda review and approval. I will open the floor for a motion.
So moved by Kohler.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion. I see Kirsten.
Yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda to add the 5 slides that we just got to the open portion of the FERC. So have a power supply portion added to the open portion of the FERC portion that before executive session. I'm sorry, I don't have my words right. Did I cover
So we'll
that? I
Yes.
want
have
to
a,
make sure that what we, okay.
So what I'm hearing is that you'd like to amend the agenda for item number 5, the attorney update of FERC and related actions, and add a power supply update. Is that correct, Kirsten?
Yes, thank you so much for being clear for me. I appreciate that.
Yes. Okay, further discussion on Kirsten's amendment. Okay, seeing none, I will, all in favor of the agenda with Kirsten's amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Fine.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Our next item of business is the safety moment. Is that you, Jerry?
That would be me. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So safety moment today, we've seen an increase in motorcycle and bicycle versus vehicle incidents in our little corner of the world just in the past few months. A good friend of ours in the operations group, he was struck by a person who ran a red light while he was riding his Harley and ended up losing his right leg. Another acquaintance of some of our coworkers, they were riding with a group of bicyclists, and many of them were struck by a truck and trailer, and they unfortunately sustained some very serious injuries. We have a motorcycle rally coming to town over the Labor Day weekend. Majority of accidents involving two-wheel transportation are not the motorcycles themselves or the bicyclists, but it's from other drivers simply not seeing them, not paying attention. Two-wheel vehicles are a fraction of the visual footprint of a car or a truck. It's very easy for our eyes to miss them. A few things to keep in mind, but at all times, but especially with the upcoming rally, look twice. When you are in an intersection, look twice. Take that extra second because motorcycles can be moving much faster and be much closer than they actually appear. So take that extra second. Check your mirrors. After you check your mirrors, check your blind spots before merging to do a lane change. This is one of the leading factors for motorcycle incidents and accidents are people not checking their blind spots and making contact with motorcyclists. And then don't tailgate. Give yourself extra space. Motorcycles can stop on a dime. They weigh much less than a vehicle and take much less effort to stop. So if there's an emergency where they have to hit the brakes, make sure you have enough space where you're not going to rear end them. So expect the unexpected, become a defensive driver, and as always, give yourself plenty of time to get to your destination. Never be in a hurry. That's a safety moment for today.
Hey, thank you, Jerry. Now it is up. Now it's our board education moment. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to share a personal board education moment. I was evacuated for 10 days over this last month because of the fires down here on the Lower Blanco. And one thing that board members might be interested in is some of the work that the fire folks were doing that required LPEA cooperating and turning off power in the region because they were using drones to actually light fire to the forest. So 200 yards from me, they were lighting, dropping dragon eggs, and they couldn't do that if they were energized lines. So LPEA was very responsive in getting those lines off when they needed to. And then, of course, there's the long bring up. And that's something that we all need to remember when we talk to our members is those lines all need to get inspected before they could bring them up. Even if we took them off on purpose, they still need to get inspected. And that's where the long thing is, the long time is. The other thing I want to mention, and this is a good plug for those of you who are talking to your members, is I have a battery array and I have batteries. I didn't lose anything. The most time I was ever without power in a 24-hour period when everything was down for 24 hours was 2 hours. That's when the solar was out and my batteries finally ran out at about 2 o'clock, sorry, about 3 o'clock in the morning. So that's incredible reason to have this kind of backup for our members. And if you need anything to encourage people, you could use this. So that's my education moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kirsten, and I'm glad you and your family and everyone else down the Lower Blanco didn't sustain worse. You know, I know that was a huge inconvenience, but our firefighters and our LPA line crews collaborated well to keep damage to a minimum.
Agreed.
So now let's move to item 3 on our agenda, the consent board. Oh, excuse me, item 2, member comments. Graham, if you want to go ahead and introduce that, please.
Thank you, Nicole. The board encourages comments about the cooperative from its members. The board will take all member comments under consideration, but it will not necessarily provide a response during the member comment period. The board asks that each participant's comments pertain to cooperative business. Those wanting to address the board during the public comment period are granted 5 minutes to address their topics. Lengthy comments to the board should be submitted in writing. Formal complaints must be filed in writing and submitted in compliance with applicable board policy. Comments from the public will be directed to the entire board, not to any individual. No personal attacks shall be allowed. Failure to follow these requirements may cause the public comment period to be terminated. Copies of our cooperative policies and procedures on public comment and filing complaints are available on the cooperative website.
Okay, with that, I will open up the floor. Let me look at our participants and see who's got their hand raised. I see Paul Kreischer. Kreischer. Hi, Paul.
Hi there, everybody. This is Paul Kreischer. My question, my comment is really a question that's very brief. I was wanting to attend the whole meeting, I guess the meeting on Monday, the meeting of the whole was that was anyway. So I was just curious if there's any summary from that meeting because the agenda item looked interesting, but I was unable to attend.
Okay. Any other comment?
Nope. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's look at who we have next. Okay, next I see Mark Pearson. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to make a few comments this morning. I was most interested in the power supply discussion, which I see is in the executive session, but will there be some public discussion for the members to learn more about what's happening with the power supply progress, particularly now that we're moving through the bridge period, and presumably LPA is going to be making some longer term commitments about the future of our power supply, and in particular, I think about what, say, Tri-State and XL are required to do with their integrated resource plans, with their scenario testing and looking at different mixes of power supply resources for their future needs. And presumably LPA must have done a similar kind of scenario analysis and looking at like a scenario of, here's the cheapest scenario. Here's the one that has the least carbon emissions. Here's the one that maybe has more investment locally into our communities. Because those are the, when the members supported leaving Tri-State, those are the kind of things we were really interested in, is like what's cheaper, what's cleaner, how do we, recoup some of that money that you're collecting from the members every month and reinvest it back in the community and energy sources. So what does that look like? You guys must have seen some analysis like that, and it'd be great for the membership to have the opportunity to see that as well. It was probably like 10 years ago that the Power Supply Committee probably first started talking about what it would look like if we were independent of Tri-State, and I'm sure you've got some other requirements, from external, maybe being part of regional transmission organizations or whatever that come into play as well. But anyway, it'd be great for the public and the members to be able to weigh in on that. I think it's to LPA's benefit as well. I look at what happened with the battery storage systems and LPA's effort to get regulations adopted by La Plata County that would allow those to be more seamlessly approved. And I don't think it turned out well for LPA. I think LPA was a bit blindsided by the level of public concern and opposition that came about from that process. And that's the kind of information that I think LPA could benefit from by having more member involvement and engagement in, as you start thinking about what are going to be the long-term power supply decisions. And, the members can have a lot of interesting perspectives and could really help inform LPA and, bring some things to your attention you might not have thought about otherwise. And so whatever you can do to uh, open up the process and make it, invite the members who are interested to weigh in and give you feedback. That'd be, I think, beneficial to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. And just because I don't think we stated, Mark is District 3 and Paul is District 1. Our next comment is Anna Siegel. Go ahead, Miss Siegel. And if you could state your name and your district, please.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Anna Siegel, and I am a member of District 3. I just wanted to take a second to thank you all for the new podcast that LPA is putting out. The Southwest Power Stories is an awesome resource, and it's been really fun listening to it, especially the Celebrating Energy Independence episode. But I'd love to learn more about the process that you guys go through and who's in charge specifically of putting together and producing that podcast. And if you guys are open to any community participation in creating that and what narratives are brought to the forefront with that podcast, I think that could be a really great opportunity for community collaboration to a further extent and for amplifying some voices. But yeah, just wanted to thank you all. What a cool project.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel. Any other public comments? Going once, going twice. Public comment is now closed. To recap, I heard two members who were really interested in learning more about our power supply progress and where we're at in our deliberation there. I think this is very timely on both hands, both accounts. I got an email this morning from a partner reminding us of our NDA. That's a limiting factor of any of these discussions, but you do have some advocates here on the board. Kirsten, I don't know if you caught that. She amended the agenda today to allow for a public supply progress update. So if Paul and Mark, if you guys can hang on till right before we go into executive session, there's going to be a recap that is presented by staff that has been vetted by council that we are allowed to share. And then I heard from Anna about appreciating the new podcast and interested in community collaboration there. I agree, it is a great resource. I appreciate our staff making that and trying to speak to members and through lots of different channels. And hopefully, or I would request that our communication team follow up with Ms. Siegel. Okay, with that, let's close down the member comment, and now let's move to the consent board agenda. I'll open the floor for a motion there.
So moved by Kohler.
Got it. And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Okay, we've got a motion, a second. Any discussion on the consent board agenda? All right. Seeing none, let's move to a public vote. All in favor of passing the consent board agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Now let's move on to item number 4, the CEO and staff reports. Our CEO is not here today, but he has put our COO, Dan Harms, in charge of this presentation. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Nicole. Drew, can you share that screen, please? All right. Good morning, everybody. We're talking about our July dashboard today and how that impacts. And Drew, if you can roll over to the main board there. Seeing predominantly green check marks across the board. We have a couple of others I'll highlight here, top to bottom there. Critical system uptime, we do see a needs attention yellow there. That's because the IT group has been hard at work updating many critical systems within our infrastructure over the last month. And there was some intentional planned outages of our network that were part of that, and that all rolls into that metric, and that's exactly why that happened. So not of concern there. Next item down, the BE sales increase, little off target there. If you've noticed, compared the delta difference this month to last month, we are closing back in on that gap. It was trending downward. We have a lot of heat pumps and everything in the pipeline, so we're closing back in on the goal we have, but we do have a little bit of a gap there. Member installed batteries, similar story there, just a fraction off. It's actually the exact same number as it was last month, but there's a lot in the pipeline that are coming in on the way that are in part of that approval process there. And I believe Monica and Roy will touch on the operating margins as we arrive those. I'll ask Roy, do you have anything to comment on that part right now? Oh, I put him on the spot and he not have his unmuted. So, still can't hear you, Roy. Oh, now it's echoing a bit. All right, we will touch on that when we get to it. Monica, did you want to touch on that? I don't know if your microphone's working any better.
Sure, I can touch on that real quickly. So the metrics that are reported under this creating member value is as of year-to-date June. And the negative operating margin is being presented without the rate stabilization fund that that the board had approved in the budget. And so as it was discussed and agreed upon at the beginning of the year, we were going to wait to apply any of those rate stabilization funds to our actual numbers. And so that is why it's currently reflected as a negative operating margin right now.
Thank you, Monica. Drew, can you move on to the next slide, please? All right, and the delivering safety, reliability, and excellence categories here. First off, the picture there is of one of our county fairs where we engage the kids with building STEM projects. Great participation, and it was fun to see everybody coming again to those booths and connecting with us there and having an opportunity to talk to parents, and it's a good draw. But under safety priorities, the second one there, I mentioned that planned outage on our network. That's the item that's highlighting that. Finished overhauling our infrastructure there to increase our cybersecurity in that area there. And I think we heard Kirsten mention the great collaboration that we had on the Rio Blanco fire with the fire departments there and the efforts that LPA contributed towards that. One of the last things I'll highlight under reliability in the second column over there is the installation of a new Viper that we put in on Highway 84 South. As we know, June especially and July were both months where we had several red flag days in a row, and that was impacting power quality in that, especially the Highway 84 south of Pagosa area, quite a bit. It's one of our longest circuits, and when that does have an event on it, it takes a long time to get the power back on as we have to go inspect things, as Kirsten mentioned earlier. And the installation of this Viper about halfway down the highway that is now in place is going to cut those efforts in half there. So that was a good effort there. And we discussed in one last thing I'll highlight here are the poll attachments we discussed in the Finance and Audit Committee. Enhancing this stat for next time will be including total number of polls replaced and the value that that's bringing to the membership. So look forward to that in future board packets there. Next slide, Drew. Under energizing tomorrow. This was, I thought, a great find by one of our staff members, the third item down there. Even though it sounds like a small thing, it's the attention to the details that our staff is doing, where they noticed the production on Sunnyside Solar was slightly low. And I'm really talking slightly low, but the monitoring that we're doing on that, we were able to notice that some of the cooling fans had failed on a couple of the inverters with the hot summer we had here. They were replaced under warranty and got our full capacity back out of the system. And normally would produce 1,700 watts under peak abilities, and it was like 1,600 kilowatts. And that was something they had noticed, and we got that remedied there. And in a past board meeting, we had a request from directors about more information on our website regarding balcony solar because of the questions that we've received on that. I want to let you know we do have a site up and running that addresses a lot of those questions, and it has a URL provided there. So I think that will hopefully provide some good information to you in case you get engaged by our members and also for our members to view. Next slide, Drew. And I am going to turn this section over to Laura to help highlight some of the items here.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, board members. I'll start in the second column with a new feature in the dashboard that was a request from our new member engagement committee, which is to not only tell you about what we've done in the past, we'll always continue that tradition, but our new feature is the upcoming engagements. And you can see a diverse set of staff and leadership engagements across August and into September. And especially excited about coming to Pagosa on the 17th of September for our VIP garden party. And I can tell you the RSVPs for that are looking really healthy. Of course, looking back into July, we had a diverse set of engagements that all, I think, touched on very topical issues. We met with the Durango Fire Department to kick off our collaboration for the Sunnyside Battery Project. After some back-to-back outages in Pagosa in June, Dan, Chris, and I took time to drive to Pagosa and sit and talk face-to-face with the sheriff and city and county planning officials to talk about Vipers and other improvements that we're making on our system, but also to ask for their partnership in taking more care when they permit structures. Happy to answer any questions about member engagement, and we're looking forward to Dusty, our member engagement committee, round 2 on the 1st.
Thanks, Laura,
Thank you,
for
Laura.
that. And if anyone has any questions, let's wait till the end of the dashboard, and then we can direct those to whichever staff is the most appropriate to answer.
Perfect. Drew, next slide, please. This is our last slide here, highlighting the creating member value. Wanted to highlight again that our power supply looks very favorable relative to our post-departure numbers or our pre-departure numbers. Still consistently seeing reduced power costs that are at least 12%. Things can fluctuate from month to month, but that's about the average that we're seeing relative to our March 26 numbers, 12% lower. And also highlighting the energy services offering. We launched a new form on our website that people have engaged with, and that combined with some partnership work that we've done with Four and Zero Homes, gotten great participation on members adopting heat pump technologies and beneficial electrification. And what you're seeing on the chart on the right side is that LPEA is one of the state leaders that is out there and taking advantage of the HERE funding that's out there, and that has been a great thing to get state revenues and dollars into our community there. Those are I think the most concludes the highlights that we wanted to hit for you this time, and I'd be glad to take any questions. Kohler.
Yeah, Dan, you mentioned south of Pagosa that we added a Viper, and you also said that might help on the time that they're down. I thought if a Viper flips, don't you also have to inspect it like you do if we didn't have the Viper? So where is the time savings?
Yeah, so if we put the Viper about halfway down the circuit, and so it's splitting the circuit in half. And so if it trips as opposed to the full substation tripping, in other words, if the fault is south of that Viper, that's half the line that needs to be patrolled. And so that's the time savings there could greatly help.
And was that in place when that fire occurred down there? Was it actually, did the Viper come into use?
The Viper was in place, but the fire did not create a fault on our system, so there was no direct use of that Viper. It's just that there were times where we had to shut that tap off, so people had to go into the field and manually address that.
Thank you.
Yes. Director Lewandowski.
Yeah, Dan, can you just one comment and a question? Can you just give a quick explanation to members who are watching what a Viper is and what it does?
Thank you, Joe. Yes, Joe, thank you. A Viper is a intelligent recloser, and then one might ask, what is a recloser? A recloser is a protective device that we have in the field that's looking for faults and disturbances on our system. And our typical device that does that is simply looking for fault current. It acts the same way every day, and its priority is to put the power back in place, keep the lights on. And the Viper does the same thing, but what the Viper also does, it allows us to communicate to it and change its settings on the fly. So when we have red flag days, times of very high fire danger, we can change what it prioritizes. We can change it prioritizing putting power back in to putting power out, which is what we want under a red flag day, is to put the power out immediately as quickly as possible based on the conditions we have on hand to prevent the ignition of a wildfire. So that's been a huge effort all across our system. And one of the limiting factors in the Pagosa area was communications. Now we've combined our Viper technology with Starlink, and that helps us reach places that we've never been able to reach before.
Great. Now, again, shows some people question our commitment to safety, and I think this really shows that we're on the cutting edge of that. Also, I just wanted to thank the staff for the explanation on what's up of the plug-in solar legislation and what people have to do. So thank you.
Excellent. Director Wheeler.
Thanks, Dan. Similar to like Joe's request for kind of an explanation, could you just give a brief description of the HERE project? And are there rebates or financial assistance associated with these requests?
Yeah, thank you, Tim. The HERE, Home Electrification and Appliance Rebate. That was a program that's run, it's got limited funding, and it helps income qualified people provide a great rebate and a path forward into heat pump technology. And so this was a concerted effort that we did to grab onto these funds while they were still available. And I think we've had some good success with that and getting those in place. And what was the second part of your question there, Tim?
I think that's sort of addressed. I would just
Okay.
add that FORCOR giving a little kudo to them
Yes.
and the LPA for cooperating on something that really helps the members. And I appreciate that. Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. Director Jenkins.
Thanks, Dan. Just to Laura, I wanted to thank you for updating the slides so quickly. We did have our first membership engagement meeting. I love that the upcoming events are there. As we all know, transparency has been questioned, and I just wanted to thank Laura. I was really impressed with the work that they have planned and that they are doing. She and her team are doing really great work. So would you mind just updating folks on the call from the public on how they can keep up to date on these upcoming events so they can participate? I know you have a lot of
Sure.
options.
Oh, well, thank you, Jen, for the kind words. We have an awesome team here, and I'm privileged to get to work with them. We have an upcoming events calendar out by month on the public website. And that calendar is always getting improved, and our website will be renewed and refreshed in the first part of 2027. And we do have a renewed focus on adding more events that are and telling a little bit more detail about why we're there and what members of the public can learn from engaging with us at those events. Not everything you see on this list will be on that calendar, but the great majority will be.
Thanks so much.
Director Skian.
Yes, on page 2 of the dashboard. So the FAQ goes through the financial stuff in detail. So where the members get to see it during the board meeting is in the creating member value stuff. That's where they see our financial metrics. I'd like Roy or somebody to just touch on our red mark there, requiring focus.
Right, and Monica touched on that a second ago. Roy, do you have is your audio working any better yet? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs down.
I'm sorry, I guess I had checked out Monica. My mistake for not paying. I missed you. I'm sorry.
No problem.
That's okay. I can repeat it if you want me to. I can re-summarize.
No, I'm just shaming myself here. You're good. If you've talked about it, don't do it for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Dan before he moves on to the regional market update? All right, the floor is yours again, Dan.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. No, don't have a whole lot to share on a regional market update. Things continue to be moving along there. We have engaged a lot of power supply options as we're going to roll back around into our power supply summary here shortly. Still getting favorable quotes on some interesting battery strategies and systems with that as well. But nothing much more to add there, Nicole.
Okay, any questions for Dan about our regional market? All right, seeing none, we are going to move on to the attorney update of FERC and related actions. And this is also going to be the power supply public portion of our discussion. So I guess first, Graham.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, maybe we'd do the power supply summary first. That way, since the FERC update will be the first thing we talk about in an executive session, that would be more proximate for directors to sort of follow up with questions. Should I share my screen, or Janelle, can you share?
Or Drew, do you have that already of just those
I have,
slides in the packet?
I can share my screen. It's pulled up, so do
Okay.
that.
Sure. Go for it.
All right. Everybody seeing this? Let me make oh, there we go. All right. So this is our public update from our committee of the whole meeting that occurred on Monday, August 17th. We met to discuss energy and capacity portfolio strategies. And to begin with, we'll start with what the board has tasked staff with, which is to achieve this stated strategic goal of having our members on average pay less for electric service than 70% of our Colorado cooperative peers, and by 2030, reduce carbon emissions by more than 80% from 2005 levels, thereby surpassing state climate goals. And so this is the task that we have been given, and about 18 months ago, staff had a RFP process where we invited pre-vetted vendors to bid on filling out a portion of our portfolio that isn't already covered by other resources. And over the course of those ensuing 18 months, we've come back to the board at various times as we've narrowed that selection process down. We've worked with our outside consultants to find the energy mix that best fits with our other portfolio assets. And based on that, we are getting to the point of recommending a natural gas plus wind element to our portfolio. As this curve indicates, this should optimize both cost and CO2 reduction. We can see some of the alternative products that we have evaluated on here and how they identify with each other relative to the board's stated goal of carbon emission targets required by the state and keeping our costs below 70% of our cooperative peers. So,
and Graham, if I could add to this too, that this is the element that we're addressing now for the portion of our portfolio that we don't already have addressed by other renewables and PPAs, which is the remaining 50% of our portfolio.
Yeah, so if we go to this slide, we can see the gas wind combination fills up this portion here where we have solar identified here, local on-grid resources that have been existing here. Also, we have firm power supply here, and this tracks our target carbon metrics. The green line is the state goal that we need to surpass, and this indicates that by 2030, we will have surpassed that carbon goal by reducing our emissions by 82% over our 2005 baseline. So yeah, this is sort of gives an idea of the general portfolio mix here and the size of the contract that we're looking to insert here. Notice that this does only go through 2030 as the wind and gas purchase power agreements that we're looking at are relatively industry standard of between 15 and 25-year agreements. We have also had some detail from the board beyond just the carbon reduction and price targets that we're looking for. One of the tasks that we've had throughout this iterative process is to make sure that we have flexibility and for oncoming technologies and departure ramps if we find these contracts to be problematic, and so we're not in a sort of tri-state situation where we're spending 5 years at FERC litigating our way out of a contract. And so we have worked on those sorts of terms to try and negotiate flexibility into these things and have ability for future dynamic portfolio. Also can see that what this also does is really aligns our ability to point to specific resources, which is really important for us in terms of our RTO requirements. So that's another good reason to have very specific contracts for these resources. So the key factors in our analysis are to reduce resource adequacy risks, and while some of these calculations for storage and renewables are being recalculated by the RTO that sets our resource adequacy requirements. It also has the potential to complement future battery storage, as the battery would handle daily peak shifting, and the dispatchable gas could cover longer multi-day gaps. We're going to meet our near-term reliability and compliance obligations, where, as we said, have some flexibility for future technology changes and uptake of renewables over a longer timeline, and the efficiency will allow us a path that we are fairly confident in keeping our electric service costs lower than 70% of our cooperative peers.
Graham, would you mind going to slide 3 again real quick? I just wanted to highlight something for our members as well, which may not have, we've stared at this so much that I wanted to make sure we understand this for everybody, that when looking at this chart, there's the 3 dots along the bottom are different degrees of natural gas and renewables. In this instance, it's wind. And the orange dot on more on the right side is if we just ran natural gas and natural gas alone. And then we looked at different combinations of natural gas plus wind. And, what degree do you run natural gas versus wind? And there's 2 primary things we're trying to solve for here. One being to ensure that we have resource adequacy and the capacity to turn on generation at the times we need it, especially times that are few and far between, but we reach very elevated load levels. And so we have to make sure we have dispatchable resources at that point. That's the purpose of the natural gas side of things, but the majority of the energy, the runtime of the units, is going to come from wind. And so the majority of our energy comes from wind. The capacity comes from gas. It may not run very often, but it's going to be there in case we need it at times. And so when doing the analysis, it's showing that light blue dot more on the left side with the red arrow pointing to it is natural gas that maybe only has to run 25% of the time. You're running wind 100% of the time, getting the majority of the energy from the wind, but the natural gas is there for the capacity. Just wanted to highlight that portion there.
And I'd also like to say that these are blended costs across multiple products. So this isn't sort of one product. We aren't buying a natural gas wind singular product that has that price point itself. This is a blend of multiple products. So we're not disclosing any specific pricing on any particular product that we're looking at.
Thank you.
But this is the bottom line for our members, right? Is that's what will ultimately be our cost of power as a cooperative. Joe.
Yeah, Graham or Dan, can you, again, for the benefit of the members, the resource adequacy question, can you explain that a little bit? Because we have some outside things we have to answer to. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll let Dan take
that. Yeah, so resource adequacy, it's a fancy name for what SPP, our regional transmission organization that we're part of, has stipulations for reliability. They want to make sure that each load-serving entity, such as La Plata Electric, can cover not only their peak load, but has surplus margin that can ensure that we have capacity to serve that plus another 32% during the winter time for a worst case scenario. So we have to be able to point to specific resources and say, this unit plus this unit plus this unit adds up and creates that capacity obligation that we need to meet. And different technologies have different accreditation when it comes to that capacity. Wind and solar have an accreditation factor, but it's going to be lower than a dispatchable unit that you can turn on at different times. So those combined with batteries create the capacity needs that we have to serve. And so we have to be able to point to specific units so that somebody doesn't double count a unit. The orange bars indicate some market purchases that we're making currently. The problem with that is that it can't point to specific resources very easily. So this path in the future that we're talking about starting in 2030, and I would love to bring it on sooner than 2030, but it takes time to build, time to acquire, long lead time items. So that's the soonest that we can bring things on is 2030. Those are going to allow LPA to say, and these are the units that are serving LPA and that we can use to serve our load at any time on a critical event.
Cool.
That was a great explanation. And then the one other thing I want to make sure is clear, because we couldn't share the slide that shows the second part of our goal, which is to be cheaper than 70% of our Colorado cooperative peers. But this bar chart you have here in 2030, it reduces emissions by 82%, and it also, to the best of our forecasting ability, will keep us lower than 70% of our Colorado cooperative peers. So it's hitting both of those.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah. This is sort of our target blended price that we can get to, but we have some insight onto sort of other offtakes that many of our peers do. So we have what we think is a reasonable forecast of what their prices might be as well, and we feel confident that this is an excellent price compared to what many of our peers will be paying.
All right, any other questions for Graham or Dan about this public presentation? Go ahead, Ms. Wheeler.
So is this the entire presentation at this point, Graham?
This is the public available presentation, yes.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we provide a member meeting, town hall, whatever, on this, at least one prior to the next board meeting, to allow members to not only see but ask questions and get feedback.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will open the floor for discussion on the proposed motion that we have a town hall prior to our September board meeting that would present these slides and allow for members to ask questions as well as receive the presentation. Go ahead, Kohler.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but I hate to do that without our CEO here, because we don't know exactly what staff is up against in the next month. So I'd be hesitant to say yes now without input from Chris.
Okay, any other comments or discussion?
I would just say I'm trying to flip through calendars. I know we do have quite a few things going on, and maybe Laura can touch on some of the venues. I'd assume we'd have to hold something like that at La Plata boardroom, we have to secure a date for sure.
Could be virtual.
Okay. While Laura looks through that, I'll take some more comments. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I would agree with Kohler and look at what the time frame is and what staff load looks like. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Why don't we, maybe this is a suggestion to Tim, or what do we call it, a friendly amendment? Why don't you, I like where you're going with this. Why don't you perhaps consider amending the language to include a best efforts so that they can, so the staff has some maneuverability to make it happen. That's my suggestion to Tim.
Okay, John Witchell offers a friendly amendment to soften the language to include a best effort of staff to schedule that. Tim, do you accept the amendment?
Yeah, I'd probably phrase it slightly differently, but it's a good suggestion. And, you know, we could pass the motion with the language that with concurrence of the CEO,
Okay,
something
so
like that.
could you read your whole amendment or your whole motion, please?
Sure. I move that we present this in at least one public town hall that can allow for member questions and feedback before the next board meeting with the cooperation or concurrence of the CEO who is not present at this meeting.
Okay, Jen, do you accept that friendly amendment as well?
I do. Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the amended motion? All right, seeing none, I will open the floor to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Let me set up my sharing so it's easier to count.
Oh, thank you.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you for that presentation and for our directors who continue to advocate for these kind of member engagement opportunities. So we will move on now to, excuse me. Now Graham will do the attorney update of FERC and the related actions.
All right, thank you, Nicole. As you'll recall, we have 3 FERC and related matters that we're currently monitoring. One is the Tri-State Open Access Transmission Tariff and ATRR rate for their transmission rates. Currently, settlement negotiations are ongoing at FERC, and the next formal settlement conference is set for early September. And we will continue to coordinate with United Power and FERC staff on our portion of the settlement. Those 3 parties are well aligned in negotiating settlement on this. The other FERC matter is the basin tie. Again, settlement negotiations are ongoing, and the next formal settlement conference is set for late October. And likewise, we continue to coordinate with Tri-State, United Power, and DMEA on our portion of the settlement negotiations on that, as we remain well aligned with those parties in settlement negotiations. And finally, in the 10th Circuit, there's the appeal of the remaining issue coming out of the contract termination payment proceedings. This relates to the amounts included in the transmission credit. Tri-State recently filed its opening brief, which is publicly available if anyone wants to go to the 10th Circuit. You can track it down. FERC's brief. So that the appellee, right, is FERC itself, as it issued the order that Tri-State is appealing. So FERC will file its brief in early November, and following FERC's brief, we will work with United Power and Mountain Parks to draft a brief that raises any additional issues from the former members' perspectives, and we'll support the FERC brief, and that brief would be due at the end of November. Any public questions on any of those updates? Nicole, don't see any questions in public.
Great. It is 9:54. I will propose that we go on a break before executive session, but I guess first I'll open the floor for a motion to move into executive session where we will be discussing the attorney update of FERC and related actions, power supply progress, transmission asset discussion, storage strategy, and an employee matter.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion about moving into executive session? Okay, I will just say it's 9:55. Let's plan on being an executive. I
Do
will
we have
open
our
up for a
vote?
vote. I thought this was the discussion portion first, though.
Okay, sorry. Oh, I thought you were, I didn't know that your discussion was still, sorry, I didn't know that you were still doing the discussion.
That's okay. So what I propose is that assuming this passes, we would move into executive session at 10:10, which is a 15-minute break. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we will see you in executive session at 10:10.
Thank you.
The meeting is being called back into session at 1:42. We are going to wait on our executive session recap until our legal counsel has reviewed it and make sure that we're not inadvertently sharing any confidential information. We can return to that, but what we'll do next is a possible action related to executive session. This is Resolution 2026-14, Board Action Regarding Director Code of Conduct. And because it came out of the investigation committee, that is considered a motion. So do we have a second on that resolution? Second by Dusty?
No second is needed.
No second is needed either. Okay, so it is recommended, and now I will open the floor to discussion about the resolution.
You have a question?
Go ahead, Dusty.
I just did get reply back from Graham if you want me to just back up quickly and it would allow us to continue the rest of the meeting.
Let's just return to it after we finish this.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so discussion about the resolution. Okay, seeing none, I will open it up to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes 11-1. And now, Dusty, if you want to go ahead and give us that recap.
Mute.
Out loud, brother.
I'm clicking away here. I gotta switch screen. Okay. 1 second. Or give me just a brief moment. I can switch over to that. Okay, yes. Okay, so for our executive session notes today from 10:10 to about 10:16, we got General Counsel Smith provided some details on FERC matters and the 10th Circuit case. As a legal strategy, these discussions are confidential attorney-client communications. So that's why they were in executive session. Our discussion on power supply went for quite a while. We went from about 10:16 to 11:38. Directors asked questions of staff regarding contract specifics. Requests were made to specify what cannot be shared by board members, and we had discussion that consumed most of the time was held around strategy and options that were pursued, including what optionality is available and things that we can address. These discussions are confidential because they're subject to non-disclosure agreements. For our transmission assets from about 11:38 to 11:40, a couple minutes, CEO Harms provided some updates on transmission assets and dates for future discussion. And these discussions are also confidential because they're subject to NDAs. Our storage strategy discussion went from 11:40 to 11:47. CEO Harms provided a brief update on storage strategy and details of specific potential projects. Directors held discussion and asked clarifying questions. These discussions are confidential because they involve regulatory strategy and a legal component. Relative to the employee matter was our final executive session discussion, which lasted from 11:47 to 1:34. The sequence of events was that staff was excused, appropriate members recused themselves, and special counsel met with the board to provide findings regarding the personnel matter. Board directors asked several questions and discussed multiple consequences of following actions, and then the board was rejoined and additional statements were made. These discussions are confidential under Robert's Rules of Order. And that's the summary of our executive session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dusty.
Point of order. Sorry.
Go ahead, John.
I think this is a question to Graham. I think the vote count was wrong by Robert Rules of Order. When an individual board member is recused from a matter, aren't they also, they are recused from the vote? Is that correct?
I'll look into that. I believe you're right.
Okay. So why don't we give you, maybe we can push on, and then in the interest of time, and then Graham can return. And if we have to revote, we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I'm done.
Yeah, I was temporarily distracted. Did we read the title of the resolution on the employee matter?
I did.
And isn't that recorded? That is. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. So it is 1:47. I'm committed to ending this board meeting at 2:30. If we don't get to reports, that's okay, but we do have to get through some action items. Do we have any committee on policies update?
I would say that we've circulated policy 104 and 119 for committee review. We'll have our initial review, and after the committee takes its first pass, that will circulate it to the full board for additional.
And that meeting is on Monday, starting at 9 o'clock, if anyone cares to join.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Lewandowski. Next, we'll move on to the FAQ. Go ahead, Treasurer Wheeler.
We both start with W. Yeah, I was just realizing there isn't a fact report actually in the board packet. Did I miss something on that, Janelle, perhaps? Or Jessica? Anyway, so at least in the packet that I downloaded, there's no fact report. Is that incorrect?
I don't see it either.
Tim, we did not receive one from you, so I don't know if it got stuck in your outbox.
I'm pretty sure it was sent because Monica gave a comment on it that I revised and resent. Oh, well, we can figure that out later. I'll try and summarize really quickly where there's an action, right? And you guys can look at it later because we're short on time. We reviewed preliminary financials from May. We reviewed the first draft of June financials, which we agreed in the last month that we would do a month later, given that usually in the month. So if we're looking at June and August versus in July, because of the way SPP settles its billing, gives more time to have a more accurate report. And the financials were included in the board packet, so you can take a look at those. We got a budget update, and within that budget update, there was a board budget presented for 2027. The FAC voted 5-1 to recommend that the board approve the 2027 board budget as presented. Maybe we could wait on that, given that I don't think that's included here either. So I'm kind of lost without having something to reference. So I'll just say that's a quick summary. We can look at it again next month if you want, when we publish the other one. So I'll move on. Thanks. Unless anyone has questions. John Purser, you have a question on the
fact normally by this time of year, we've completed our tax return. What's the status of the tax return this year?
I'll leave that to Monica to tell us, please.
So we are required to file a 990. Normal due date is May 15th with the option to extend till October 15th. And we normally do take that extra time. So we'll be working through that and to meet that deadline of October.
So, and before that time, the board reviews it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Or I think it's usually, it goes to the FAC to take a look, but.
I believe in the tax return in the past, it said it's been reviewed by the board. Anyway, and normally when I went back and looked at signatures for the last 10 years, it always appeared to be done by mid-August. Am I incorrect in that?
I mean, it's a timing. Again, we have till October 15th to complete it. We've been short-staffed and in our department and just lots of other things. So we just have been pushing it a little bit, but we don't have any concerns of meeting the deadline, and we'll have that information to the FAC to review.
Thank you.
Any other fact questions? Sorry, Chris.
Jim, I have a quick fact question, and it's actually the board budget that you talked about. That's just the budget that's for us. It's for our training, our stipends. It's not the board budget, which is for all of LPEA. And I just want to make sure we're clear on that that's not what we were talking about.
Sure, thanks for the clarification. Yeah, you're right. It's for the expenses related to the board. It's always a separate set of line items in each year's operating budget, and we'll look at that next month, I think, as a board. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Now we are going to move into the board action agenda, part of the agenda. This is item 8C1. This is the motion to approve resolution 2026-12. These is the 2027 LPEA Board of Director meeting dates. So you have the resolution ahead of you. I will open the floor for a motion on this resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And now further discussion on the proposed meeting dates. Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of the proposed meeting dates, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Next item is item 8C2, the motion to approve the 2027 Director Election Timeline Proposal. Graham, do you need to introduce that at all?
Just a moment. Let me pull up my on board. So yes, we have the director election timeline proposal. We do have this to you, I would say, reasonably early each year in an effort to make sure we have ourselves on SBS's calendar so that they can help us out managing our elections. So even though we don't have our typical deadlines that are triggered 6 months ahead of the election, we still have some time for that. That's why we're bringing this to you now. Also, it sort of incorporates with the meeting timeline because we tend to have the annual meeting correspond with the May meeting.
Okay, I will open the floor for a motion.
So moved.
Okay, and a second? Okay, moved by Greg, seconded by Dusty. Now I will open the floor for discussion. Go ahead, Tim.
Two things real quick. It wasn't Janelle's fault. I had a wrong address that I sent to her. So just want to acknowledge that in the fact report, that was my fault that you didn't get it. And second is that in the schedule, the timeline proposal, we review the voting districts after board candidates are made candidate packets are made available. And I just wonder if that's the right order. I mean, there is a chance that the districts could be changed, right? And if that were the case, maybe some candidates no longer in the district that they thought they were in, that would invalidate their packets. So I just throw that out as a consideration, but
and that's fine. That's when they become available. They're not due until after. So there's almost 60 days between when the voting districts are set and when the packets are due, January 20th to March 20th. So hopefully that's, but whatever. I'm willing that the 1 second. Let me pull up the bylaw on when we need to have the districts set by. So districts have to be set not less than 60 days ahead, right? So if six, or it wouldn't be 6 months ahead, but it would be, setting it in January isn't incorrect with that. It'd be well in advance of the deadline. But if that is an adjustment that you would like to make.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, sorry, it just seemed odd to me that, but maybe there's nothing in the candidate packet that would dissuade somebody or misinform somebody about what district they might be taking that candidate packet in consideration for running. That was my question, really.
I mean, I suppose you're not wrong that if somebody returned their candidate packet before January 20th, they could, and for some reason, they happen to be close enough to the boundary where they were in a different district, they would probably need to resubmit their packet for the appropriate district. So, I mean,
yeah, they also have to gather.
There's a non-zero chance of that. So would you like to move that we have the voting district review occur on December 18th?
Sure, I'll move
that. Dusty,
Second.
Is that a second? Okay. All right. So I think we should vote on this amendment, have a discussion on the amendment to make that change. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Appears unanimous. So now the main motion resumed is this as amended to have the board district review moved from January 20th to December 18th. That's what's pending now. And Kirsten, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'm just kind of unclear what we're voting on. Are we voting to accept this memo, or are we voting on these are the dates we're going to have? It was said as so moved, so I'm not sure what the movement was.
I would, so we have the motion to approve the director election timeline proposal so that you're satisfied with these dates on what to me is appearing at page 45 and 46 of the board packet. And then the next motion will be to approve the resolution of the third party appointment.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, so that concludes that item of business, and now we are on to
we would need to vote on the actual approval of the timeline as amended if there's more discussion.
Do I need to ask for a motion on that or just, no?
No, it's main motion resumed. So if there's no other discussion now, we're voting on the amended timeline.
Okay, all in favor of passing the resolution with the amended timeline signify by saying aye or raising our hand.
Aye.
Our resolution.
The resolution.
No, this is the timeline. So it's pages 45 and 46, 2000.
Oh yeah, it's not a resolution.
2027 director election timeline proposal. And then the next motion will be the independent third party appointment after.
Okay.
So
just to make sure everyone is clear and they don't want to change their vote, what we just voted on was the timeline that was presented with the amendment that Tim suggested voting districts come out prior to or in tandem with the announcement of board elections. So does anyone, let's go ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Right.
Any nays? Okay. Seeing none, we will now move on to 8C3. This is a motion to approve Resolution 2026-13, an independent third-party appointment. I will open the floor for a motion.
Moved.
Got a move by Greg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Jen. So any discussion on this motion, this resolution? Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. I will say, as someone who's awaiting the results, the fact that he took floor time to like advocate for his services, I was like, no one in this room is like shopping around for a ballot surveyor at this moment. That was my only critical feedback. But actually, if you saw the ESC report, I thought those were really good points that were made, as well as changing some things up where you could vote for a candidate without voting for the ballot amendment. So there was some good feedback. So I really appreciate that they do that postmortem while it's still fresh. And I thought other than that, they did a good job. And I got a lot of really positive feedback on the online voting. Okay, so that passes. Did I open it for a vote? I'm sorry if I didn't. No, okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, so
Tim, just because of the timing on the video, were you in favor or against?
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you.
okay. So now we are on to reports. We're going to start with the attorney report. Do you have anything to add to your report, Graham?
No, I'll just refer to my written report if there are any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Graham? Okay, seeing none, we are going to move on to director reports. We'll start with Roundup. Greg, thank you for your written report. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thanks, Nicole. I would say for the interest of time, my report stands. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Greg? All right, let's move on then to the CREA. I don't see any report. Do you want to comment on that, Ted?
There was no meeting last month. The next meeting is the 27th, 28th. And I did send out everyone an email just a few minutes ago reporting that and providing a little bit of information that I told you that I would follow up on from last month. So check your inboxes.
Okay. Great, thank you. Now we are moving to Western United. I don't see a report there. I assume, Greg, that's also, there was no meeting?
Right. There's no meeting. Our board meeting is next Thursday.
Okay. Tim, do you have a question?
Yeah. Sorry. We're going real fast. So I did not have I wanted to ask about the ESC recommendations. So, I mean, they're there. You said something about them, but do we need to adopt them? Do we need to have any kind of
No, I'm gonna I just reached out to Joe now, but I can sort of put this on the record that we'll sort of mention this briefly at the Committee on Policies, but this will address the policy related matters at the Committee on Policies, starting with the September meeting. Just sort of, there was some time, I know this has a date that indicates it was sort of earlier, but there were other committee members that wanted additional review of this before we circulated it to the board, which is why it is coming to you in this month's report as opposed to an earlier report. But now that we have it and it's been tendered to the board, I can consider it, I will bring it to, well, it'll start in the Committee on Policies and percolate its way back to the board from there.
So all those recommendations could be covered under changes to current policy?
By and large, you know, I think, you know.
And perhaps if not, then there could be a report back to the board as to how those recommendations were handled.
Yeah, if there's something that can't, if the recommendations can't be addressed through the Committee on Policies, we can report back that we weren't able to address them and make the board aware of that.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
So that leads us to the end of our director reports. I think we have the outstanding question to Graham about are you allowed to vote if you recuse yourself from discussion? Do you have an answer on that, Graham?
Yeah, the under this circumstance, it appears that their participation in the vote is not allowed. So that would be the 11 votes counted and 1 non-participating vote.
Okay. All right, Dusty.
Just so there's absolute clarity on this, because it's an important, do we need to redo that vote? Was that vote read into the record correctly? Like, you know me, I'm a stickler for rules. Let's get it right.
So the minutes will reflect the vote as it occurred in accordance with the rules. And so that will be the ultimate record and the corporate record is what is reflected in the minutes.
So what does the minutes reflect?
Well, one, the minutes won't reflect anything until they're approved, so everyone will have an opportunity to weigh in on how it is actually reflected, but it will be reflected. My understanding, I'm sorry, my phone was off and I was working on other matters, so I was late in returning from the break and only caught the tail end of the vote, but it appeared to be 11-0 if I was correct in my observation. I'm not saying that I was.
No, that is not correct.
That's not correct.
The
Okay.
vote was counted at that moment as 11-1 by the president, and I believe that is incorrect.
That is incorrect. The minutes will reflect 11-0.
And that is the record of authority, not this videotaped discussion.
Correct. Yeah, the minutes as approved by the board at a subsequent meeting are, and so the draft minutes aren't the record until this board votes during its either consent agenda or pulls the minutes from its consent agenda at next month's meeting. That record of this meeting isn't final, which is unless we do so to sort of go down that rabbit hole for a little bit. That's why we do certain things as resolutions, because those resolutions become effective immediately, whereas things that are merely covered in a record in the minutes don't become official. We don't have official written record until after the subsequent minutes are approved. Does that answer your question?
Would you advise us to redo this vote?
If you would feel more comfortable, I don't think there is anything wrong with you redoing your vote if you are concerned about that.
Okay. And we should restate the resolution also.
Got it. Okay. So, yeah, because it looks like I'm going to use the resolution number that Janelle sent me at 1:30. Okay. I'm going to introduce Resolution 2026-14. This is the board action regarding Director Code of Conduct. It is coming out, it's a recommendation coming out of the investigation committee, so it is on the floor and open for discussion. Any discussion on this resolution? Go ahead, Kirsten.
Yes, my question is, there has not been any open session recusal of any directors, so I'm not sure who we think we are recusing or who is not going to be able to vote on this.
I have absolutely no idea how to respond to this.
That's why we have lawyers.
Okay. So, and having not been part of this executive session where you discussed this, I'm not going to say that I'm exactly up to speed on where I need to be. So
can I make a suggestion that we have a 5-minute, what do you call that, when the pause while Nicole and Graham talk?
Recess.
A recess.
And let Graham gather his thoughts so he's not actually doing this real time. We take 5 minutes.
Okay, I will take a 5-minute recess. Everyone be back here at 2:18.
Thank you.
Hey, Graham.
Hey, sorry, you're on the speaker.
Got it. Okay, it is 2:18. The meeting is back in session, and I appreciate the time to recoup with legal. And the advice I was given is that we do not need to identify who recused themselves, but they are ineligible to vote. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
So we're not going to be voting again on this?
No, we are voting. The motion, we didn't need a motion because it was the resolution has been read in. This was a recommendation from a committee, so we didn't need a motion or a second. We are in the discussion portion of the resolution, and then I will call for a vote.
Okay, this is a very substantial resolution that has risk for LPEA, and I would request that we get 10 minutes to read the final resolution as it is written currently.
Okay, it is the only change we made was that line at the very end where it replaced board president from officers of the cooperative.
And then that was the only one that I saw was the draft that was written that said draft on the top. I have not seen anything since then.
Janelle, have you been able to put in the resolution and onboard that we sent over?
Yes, ma'am. It's in onboard.
Okay.
Okay, well, I didn't see that yet. It must have come this morning, but I didn't get a chance to read that.
So it's the exact same resolution as the draft, other than that one change we made. If you refresh onboard right now, you should be able to see it. It was emailed over after we finished our executive session deliberation.
Okay, and my second comment is that in the 8 years I've been on the board, we always read I don't know if it's called a preamble or whatever, the complete description of the resolution. And we're in open session, and that should be read into the record, and not just the number.
You want me to read the entire resolution?
Not the entire resolution, it's like the first paragraph in bold print at the top.
Graham, is that the common practice? I mean, there's other resolutions we've done today that I haven't done that for.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that we have typically passed the resolution and posted it as it was adopted. But sorry, I'm waiting on my onboard to reload again to make sure.
Well, I mean, it is
in the title.
I know that that's happened in the past, and it's always bothered me because this is in public session. Resolutions are part of the public record, and this is a substantial resolution. And there's no harm in reading that first paragraph of this resolution.
Go ahead, Tim.
It's unclear what the first paragraph means, Joe, but I think what
it's the introduction, the very top of the resolution.
Sorry, could I finish, please? Thanks,
yes,
Joe.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think the title is all that's needed. But, I'll read it if you want.
I think I already did read the title in.
Okay.
And Graham, unless you tell me I need to read the whole thing in, I'm going to just operate under what I just did.
We typically read the title and the number. My best recollection is that for the most often it's resolution. I'm going to use the earlier one from today, approve resolution 2026-12, 2027 LPA Board of Directors meeting dates like that. My understanding is that is how we typically adopt resolutions.
Okay.
And that provides
I will say this.
Clarity.
Hey, Joe, you didn't raise your hand. You weren't called on. I have fielded your question. I have asked for legal advice, and now I'm ready to move on. Okay. So I read it in the record. Do you have a new comment?
Yeah, that reading the number and that kind of description provides absolutely no insight to the public on what the resolution is about.
Okay, we ready to vote on this? All in favor of the resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes 11-0. We are now at the end of our board agenda, and I will open up the floor for comments from directors. Go ahead, Kirsten.
I just wanted to add a little something to my board education from earlier. One of the things that having those batteries let me do is run my pumps on my irrigation the entire time. So I was able to keep my yard, my deck, and my house very wet the entire time. So that's where I'm really plugging in, having a solar system and having a battery system, because it's what kept me, I felt out of danger. I missed that before.
Go ahead, Dusty.
Thanks. I just wanted to inform the group that our member engagement committee did have a meeting. I didn't provide anything for the board to look at just because it was more of an introductory meeting. We were trying to get our feet under us. We've kind of established some to-do items and should have more information for you guys to see and discuss at our next board meeting is the intent there. So.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else before I call this, before I adjourn this meeting?
Thank you.
Yeah. Seeing no hands, we will adjourn 5 minutes early.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good, safe month. Bye-bye.
President Pitcher, my goodness, nice work.
I'll end on that.